7 bulldozers stood shoulder to shoulder like a yellow wall of beasts, engines howling, spitting dust into the morning air as they blocked the only entrance to my 340-acre spread. I stood there stunned, work boots still muddy from yesterday, a steaming mug in my hand, staring at the madness unfolding across my driveway in the pale gold light of dawn. The sun had barely risen over the hills of Copper Ridge County, and already my land was being challenged. Behind the machine stood a cluster of people in matching Navy windbreakers. Their shoulders bore a crest that read Fox Hollow HOA. A short man with slicked hair and sunglasses that swallowed half his face stepped forward. Clipboard in hand, he didn't wave or nod. His name was Carl, and I recognized him from a town meeting he hadn't been invited to but attended anyway. This access road is in violation of Fox Hollow's landscaping regulations. We're rerouting it today, he declared flatly. It hit me all at once. They had no idea. They didn't know I owned this land, all of it. The roads, the permits, the trees, every legal deed. They were blocking my own driveway, treating it like a mistake that needed correcting. I didn't say a word, just took a sip of my coffee and let the silence hang. But before I take you through the storm that followed, let me rewind. 3 years ago, I returned to Copper Ridge after a decade living and working in Houston. My name's Mitchell. I'm 43, a former Navy construction specialist, and I don't go looking for fights. But I also don't step back when one lands on my porch. I grew up on this land, raised goats, fixed tractors, and learned to read the sky like scripture. My old man died young, and my mother moved up north, so I stuck around with my uncle. After 20 years of oil field work, I came back with enough savings and a mission. I didn't just want a patch of dirt. I wanted a piece of Texas big enough to stretch, breathe, and build on. So I bought it. All of it. What most folks in Fox Hollow didn't know was that their new suburban development was technically built on leased sections of my land. Through trusts, LLCs, and some creative legal structuring, every cul-de-sac and mail kiosk sat on land I quietly owned. I let the developers build, so long as they honored county guidelines and respected boundaries. And at first, they did. But about 6 months ago, things changed. I built a gravel road from my house to the southern edge of the property, a mile-long stretch to make hay deliveries easier. It skirted their neighborhood by about 40 feet, didn't cross any fences or violate any codes. But it kicked up some dust, and folks didn't like it. The first complaints were notes in my mailbox. Please consider the aesthetic of our community. Your road disturbs the peace. I shrugged. Figured they'd settle down. Then came the door knocks. A woman named Cynthia brought banana bread to complain about dust during Pilates. A guy named Richard asked if I could pave it or use it less. I explained, politely, that it was my legal land and that I used it carefully. But once people start thinking they own the view, they forget who owns the soil. I stopped deliveries before 7 a.m. to be courteous. But then I found orange flags marking survey spots along my road. A sign read, Pending Community Beautification. I called the HOA number. No answer. So I went down to the clubhouse. Carl was there, sitting in an office full of real estate brochures and framed families. A whiteboard behind him listed upcoming rules about deck colors and mailbox shapes. I asked him what the flags were. He said, We're making improvements. Your road doesn't meet our visual standards. I reminded him it wasn't his neighborhood, that the road was on ranch land. It falls within our visual perimeter, he said. That gives us jurisdiction. I could have laughed, but I didn't. I offered to walk the road with him, talk it out. He looked at me like I'd asked him to clean out my chicken coop. 3 quiet weeks passed. Then came the bulldozers. I woke that morning to the rumble. Thought maybe a neighbor's truck got stuck. Then I saw them, 7 machines parked across my southern drive. Carl stood there, flanked by HOA members in their blue jackets. This is your final warning, Carl said. We're reclaiming this area. This is my driveway, I told him. According to Regulation 14B, it's not, he snapped. That's when I smiled. Because now I knew they were blind to the truth. I let them think they'd won. I let them camp out with their equipment. Because soon, they'd be the ones scrambling. Before I walked away, something else happened. A boy, barefoot with a fishing rod, wandered out from the tree line. Mr. Mitchell, are they taking your road away? He asked. Looks like it, I said. He frowned. But that's how I get to the pond. Carl snapped. This is private property. You shouldn't be here. The boy looked at him. Mr. Mitchell lets me fish here every week. Carl turned to me. Is that true? I just looked at him. Because what was coming couldn't be bulldozed. You let him walk your land? Carl asked, voice rising. Every Saturday, I said. I built that bench by the pond. His mom works late. He needs a safe place. Carl huffed. This isn't a public park. We have rules about unsupervised minors. Not on this road, you don't, I said. Carl waved at the operators. Start clearing. My patience cracked. I pulled out my phone. Alan, I said. Initiate red protocol. Section 3. Lock gates. Call the county clerk. Have Eliza pull the Fox Hollow lease docs. Understood, Alan replied. I turned to Carl. You'll need a permit to move those bulldozers. Carl blinked. Permit? By the time I got back to the house, 2 black SUVs were rolling up. Out stepped the county assessor and Lorraine Givens, the land commissioner. Carl didn't know who she was. He would soon. Let me explain. I hadn't signed anything under my own name. The land was held in old family LLCs, some under a wildlife nonprofit. Not to hide it, but because I valued privacy. At first, the HOA didn't notice. But when they tried to control what they didn't own, they hit a wall. Miss Givens showed Carl a map. This is Parcel 74B, owned by Hollow Creek Trust, managed by Mr. Mitchell. You have no easement, no jurisdiction, and no permit. Carl opened his mouth, then shut it. Smoke began rising from the trees. We ran to find a fire in a storage shed the HOA had erected weeks ago on my land. The tarp burned, flames dancing through plastic and cardboard. And inside, gasoline cans. I grabbed a hose and sprayed, yelling for a fire extinguisher. Carl stumbled through the smoke, coughing. Fuel? That wasn't supposed to be. It's your shed, I said. Miss Givens arrived with deputies. Negligence, she said. Is that yours? A deputy asked me. No, sir. I warned them twice. Citations followed. Carl stood speechless. Later that day, I was asked if I wanted to press charges. I said, let's see what they do next. Next, they sent a cease and desist. Claimed I was intimidating the neighborhood. That's when I called my lawyer, Hal Whitmore. He pulled the original parcel map from 1981. Tapped a section. This is yours. That easement they keep quoting? Never signed. We filed an injunction to revoke access and halt any further actions. The fallout was immediate. Board members panicked. Residents confused. Dues doubled. The environmental board issued a $10,000 fine. The neighborhood was in chaos. Then Angela, the muffin lady, showed up at my gate. She came without pastries. I'm sorry, she said. We didn't know. I nodded. Sometimes silence says more than words. She added, some of us see you now. Thank you. I thought the tide had turned. But Carl wasn't finished. He sued me for disturbing the peace. Claimed I was harming the community with unauthorized road use. I made a list of every HOA infraction. It was 12 pages long. I sent it to the county. 3 days later, inspectors rolled in. Then came the checkpoint. A private firm installed a gate, lights, and cameras on my road. You got a problem with this? A worker asked. Enjoy it while it lasts, I said. That evening, a man in a black jacket showed up. Charles Renshaw, Coastal Security Consulting. We're building an access point. You're trespassing, I said. He said there was legal gray area. No gray, I said. County records say black and white. When I warned him they were drilling near buried lines, he froze. Work stopped. But they stayed. Until 2 hours later, when Miss Givens arrived with a convoy. Your injunction stands, she said. No construction allowed. The fire marshal issued new fines. Carl showed up, red-faced. You can't do this. You already did, she told him. That night, the checkpoint came down. The next morning, Angela messaged me. The board resigned. We're starting over. Will you help us write the new charter? I said I would. But only if the first rule was this. Respect the land and the people who care for it. The boy with the fishing rod showed up again. I handed him a new lure. Is the road safe now? Safer than ever, I said. He smiled and cast his line. And in that moment, everything felt still. No machines. No fights. Just peace, the way it should have always been.